Well, at least that's over. Hey guys, Amore here, and today just finished watching the ACOLYTE, the latest show from Star Wars. Um, yeah, this show happened and it came and went like a wet fart. Um, this was abhorrently bad. Um, First of all, the one thing I can't even tell you what the story is because I'm not sure there was a storyline to begin with. I'm just gonna go straight up with what I did and did not like, because this show, I am baffled, baffled how bad this was. Now, what I did like about this show was the fights. That was pretty sick. The fights were really cool. Actually, the only highlight, really, that you could say about this show was that the fighting was good. It was solid. The actors that played Soul and the Stranger uh, carried the show. Actually, their storylines were the most interesting, although Soul's storyline kind of went bad uh, by the second half of this show. But that's it. That's all you could say that was good. And maybe Basil, um, potentially being Darth Basil at the end. But yeah. Now, what I disliked, or just straight up, not even hate, just as a show, everything else was horrible. Everything else. The storyline was non existent, and if there was one, it was confusing. Whose motive? What motive? I don't know. The pacing was horrible. I mean, for the penultimate episode, we got a flashback to essentially a recap of a prior episode, which all could have been in one episode to begin with. It was just unnecessary, unnecessary timing and placement for a lot of these episodes. Where one episode there was nothing but walking, the next only an episode of just fighting, no story, which was the only highlight. Episode 5, it was just fighting, but that's why it was the only good episode because there was no writing to fuck that up. The characters' motives were the worst, also confusing. You really didn't know what side or what choice they were gonna make next, but you knew one thing, that it was all gonna end up disappointing. It was just gonna be straight up bad no matter what. And oh my gosh, the OSHA and Maya storyline was the worst I've ever seen. I mean, oh my gosh, that was terrible, terrible. You couldn't make sense what they were thinking next or what they'll do next. It just happened on screen. The worst acting I've ever seen in the protagonist character that and antagonist. I think they were supposed to be those things, but I don't know. I don't know what that was. What this whole story was meant to be, but it was. This show was supposed to be about the view of the Sith or dark side, right? We barely got any of that, and we instead got this twin storyline that was horrible, just horrible. It never worked. It just never worked, and it was just atrocious, atrocious. The what's it called? The green nipple lady head was horrible as well. I'm not sure what it was not. It was just straight up not Star Wars. That's what this was. It was just straight up not. It was like cosplay, but the worst kind. It's like, oh, cool, you made something terrible. I mean, damn. And then the witches. That was, wow. I mean, they never felt any powerful or threatening because all they really did was chant, la 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 la, the power of two and the power of the many of none. Because all it was a bunch of poof smoke when they did anything. And when they did something, uh, they collapsed. Just like that. They all fell weak. And really, the only power they ever used was pushing people back. One, now two. That, why? What was that? I don't know. I don't know what they're doing. The only way we ever knew they were powerful at all was through the writing, which was horrible, and because of the virgins, because of the writing, and that's the only thing that made them powerful, but not really. And whatever the fuck the virgins was, we still don't barely know what it was. We know it's within the force, but we still don't even understand how it even started, how it even created, how it did anything to get to the point we're at. This show never explained anything thoroughly well, or never at all, just with more questions than answers. And any answers we did get, we knew from the first episode. And everything else after that, it was so predictable. With a 97%, 97.2% um, rate of knowing exactly what was going to happen next. I mean, wow, this was a torture to watch. Now, what this did to Star Wars was just straight up a disrespect to the lore. Some that I don't care what it did, but a straight up slap to the face of the fans. How bad this was, not just for a Star Wars project, but as a show. It just never worked at all, ever. It was just horrible. And for the amount of money this was put in, it was just, you never saw the budget. No, you just straight up didn't see the budget. Where did it go? I'm not sure where it went. It did not all go to the show, that's for sure. And for the first time, I felt just a bit numb um, watching by the end of this show. I just straight up didn't care. And that's what's scary. What was scary that it happened to one of my favorite franchises ever. The one that started it all for me on just being a nerd geek about stuff. And for the first time I felt a fear of what I cared so much not care at all. What is going to happen to not just this show, but literally the whole thing. I mean, it's a meme at this point how bad Star Wars has become. Not because of the Acolyte, but from the sequels we got back in 2015. But really, for me, it was The Last Jedi, was where I saw the break of the camel's back, where this whole franchise was headed, pretty much. But now you're seeing the full picture now. If you haven't, please tell me how. Because this is a wreck of a ship going down, 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 and no guide of hope. This is a train wreck of the highest order, and it sucks that I have to say those things because this this was just horrible in so many ways. Not just the show itself, but even in the show itself, everything just it was a train wreck. Because not only was this a bad written show that was already gonna get a low score no matter where, if this was an original show or Star Wars show, this was gonna be bad. And because it's also a Star Wars show or anything related to it, it already gives it an added like weight to it for it being that because of how big Star Wars is. It clearly isn't anymore. That's for sure. And to me, this is where now now it's done. It's I have little hope. I have hope for Endor to be good, season 2, maybe Ahsoka to be good, and maybe the Mando movie to be good. And I hope Thrawn gets a better storyline later. See, that's just me hoping. But, critically, bro, where is this going? It's going nowhere. And it's sad to think about because this show, this franchise is so much, means so much to so many people, not just me. And to see it the way it's going right now, it's sad. But to the point where not care and feeling numb about what's happening on screen, that's another level of you fucked up as a creator and as a fan. If you ever were a fan making stuff like this, you just couldn't see the passion in this at all, ever. Now, if I was grading this as a show alone, it's a one out of 10. It turned on. That's all it. My streaming service was able to play the show. That's the 1 point I'll give it, and for the fights, pretty much just for the fights alone, it gets that point as for an actual show thing. But personally, this is a 0 out of 10. First ever for me because of how much it, it carries weight upon the great stuff of the past of Star Wars. And to end up being this now, it's a slap in the face um, to the fans. No, I do not recommend this show. Watch something else. I don't know. This this was bad at a level that I didn't think I'd think about. Have to think about. But here we are. Anyways, I'm alright. Out.